My son's birthday party, my granddaughter said to me in a panic, "Grandpa, you have to leave here. Now." I was stunned. Why? "Just go, please." I trusted her, and IT saved me. It turns out my son, from a terrible act on the part of my son, you would not believe what he was planning to do. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel, and let us know where you are listening in the comments. Dad, I need you to listen to me this time without jumping to conclusions. Trevor burst through my front door mid-sentence, not bothering to knock. His confidence felt rehearsed, like he'd practiced this moment in his car outside. I removed my reading glasses slowly, folding the evening newspaper and setting it aside. The leather armchair creaked as I straightened. "Evening to you too, son." My voice carried 40 years of dealing with over-eager contractors who promised the impossible. "What's so urgent?" It couldn't wait for a proper greeting. He paced toward my bookshelf, then spun back, hands gesturing wildly. "This is it, Dad, the opportunity I've been waiting for. A real estate syndicate with guaranteed returns." I stood, moving to my filing cabinet with deliberate steps. Trevor's eyes followed nervously as I retrieved a manila folder, marked Trevor, Investments, 2019 to 2025. "Guaranteed, you say?" I spread the documents across my coffee table. 15% returns, perhaps. Maybe 20? "Dad, this is different, like the Miami condos were different." I pulled out a receipt, $75,000, gone in 3 months when your guaranteed rental income turned into a foreclosure notice. Trevor's jaw tightened. His confident posture crumbled as he recognized the papers. Bank statements, contracts, canceled checks, all chronicling his spectacular failures. "You never trust me." His voice rose, echoing off the hardwood floors. "Every time I try to build something, you sabotage it with your negativity." I opened another folder, the cryptocurrency mining equipment that never arrived, $50,000 to a scammer you met online. "That was different." I continued shuffling papers. "The food truck business with a convicted felon as your partner. 30,000 startup costs lasted exactly 93 days. Trevor's face flushed red. He grabbed his jacket from where he'd thrown it on my couch, movements sharp and angry. "You're impossible. This syndicate has real properties, real investors, real returns. Show me the documentation." "I don't have it with me." "But then you don't have my money." The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Outside, evening shadows crept across my lawn. A neighbor's dog barked somewhere down Maple Street. Trevor's shoulders sagged momentarily, then squared again. "Fine. When this deal makes millions without you, don't come crawling back asking for your cut." He stormed toward the door, footsteps heavy on my oak floors. The front door slammed hard enough to rattle my windows. Through the glass, I watched him fumble with his car keys. His earlier confidence completely evaporated. The engine roared to life with unnecessary force. Gravel scattered as he backed out of my driveway too fast, tires squealing slightly. Red taillights glowed angry in the gathering dusk as his car disappeared around the corner. I remained standing by the window, watching the empty street long after the sound of his engine faded. The red glow of taillights disappeared around Maple Street corner. I stepped back from the window. My reflection ghost-like in the darkening glass. The house felt hollow now, filled with echoes of raised voices and slammed doors. I moved to the kitchen, my feet finding their familiar path across creaking floorboards. The coffee ritual helped, grinding beans, measuring water, the steady drip that filled the evening silence. 40 years of marriage had taught me that some conversations required coffee afterward, even when conducted alone. Steam rose from my mug as I carried it to my study. The filing cabinet drawer opened with a metallic whisper. Manila folders emerged in chronological order, each one a lesson Trevor refused to learn. Miami First, the real estate prospectus, had looked legitimate enough. Glossy brochures featuring pristine condominiums overlooking Biscayne Bay. Trevor had been 34 then, still optimistic about quick fortunes. The developer vanished with investors' money before breaking ground. $75,000 gone. I spread the cryptocurrency documents across my desk, mining equipment that existed only in online advertisements. Trevor had shown me YouTube videos of supposed mining farms, convinced he'd discovered the future of wealth. The scammer's website looked professional until it disappeared overnight, taking $50,000 with it. The food truck partnership came next. Trevor's business plan had actually impressed me initially. Locally sourced ingredients, downtown location near the courthouse. Then I discovered his partner's criminal history. Embezzlement. The man had stolen from his previous employer, but Trevor dismissed my concerns as paranoia. 3 months later, The partner disappeared with the equipment and remaining startup funds. Coffee cooled in my mug as I reviewed bank statements documenting casino bailouts. Foxwoods, Mohegan Sun, occasional trips to Atlantic City with Meredith, small amounts at first. 500 here, 1,000 there. The requests increased after his marriage. Just until my next commission check became his standard plea. Each folder told the same story. Trevor's eternal optimism colliding with harsh reality, but tonight felt different. His anger had been sharper, more desperate. The way he'd avoided eye contact when describing his syndicate, the vague answers about documentation. Classic signs I'd learned to recognize from decades of screening subcontractors. I thought about Meredith's influence. Before their marriage, Trevor's schemes had been smaller, less frequent. She encouraged his grandiose thinking, pushed him toward bigger risks. Her expensive tastes required expensive solutions. The family photo on my desk showed happier times. Trevor, at 18, accepting his high school diploma. Pride had shone in his eyes, then genuine accomplishment earned through effort. When had that changed? When had he started believing success should come without struggle? My father had built our construction business with calloused hands and 16-hour days. I'd learned by carrying tools, mixing concrete, understanding materials from the ground up. Trevor wanted boardroom success without basement experience. The study lamp cast warm light across financial wreckage spanning 6 years, nearly $200,000. Lost to schemes, scams, and simple poor judgment. Each time I'd hoped this would be his learning moment. Each time he'd convince me the next opportunity would be different. But enabling wasn't helping. Every rescue delayed his reckoning with reality. I gathered the papers methodically, returning each folder to its proper place. The filing cabinet closed with finality. Outside my window, streetlights flickered on automatically, illuminating empty sidewalks. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight's decision felt right. Sometimes the greatest kindness was saying no. I turned off the desk lamp and headed upstairs, leaving the study in darkness. Morning sunlight streamed through the kitchen window as I folded my grocery list into my wallet. The confrontation with Trevor felt like a distant storm now, necessary but finished. Coffee had cleared my head. Shower had washed away yesterday's tension. And today offered the simple pleasure of routine tasks. I grabbed my reusable shopping bags from the pantry hook, checked that my car keys were in my pocket, and headed for the front door. The morning air carried the scent of Mrs. Henderson's lilacs, blooming next door. Perfect spring weather for errands. My stride faltered halfway down the brick walkway. Something was wrong with my Honda. The car sat lower than normal, tilted at an odd angle like a wounded animal. All 4 tires were completely flat, the vehicle resting almost on its rims. My stomach dropped as I approached the silver sedan. This wasn't gradual deflation from age or weather. Each tire showed identical puncture marks near the sidewall, small, precise holes that could only have been made deliberately. I knelt beside the front passenger tire, running my finger around the rubber. A metallic object protruded from the puncture. A roofing nail, the same type I kept in my workshop for emergency repairs. Walking around the entire vehicle, I found the pattern repeated on each wheel. 4 nails, 4 tires, 4 precise acts of vandalism, committed sometime between midnight and dawn. The timeline crystallized in my mind. Last night's argument, Trevor's explosive anger, his threat about not coming crawling back when his deal succeeded, and now this, professional sabotage delivered under cover of darkness. I pulled out my phone and dialed Trevor's number. He answered on the 3rd ring, voice thick with sleep. "Dad, what's wrong?" "It's barely 9 o'clock, son. I found my tires damaged this morning. All 4 of them punctured." A pause. When Trevor spoke again, his tone had shifted to concerned sympathy. "Dad, that's terrible. Probably neighborhood kids, you know how they get during spring break. All 4 tires, Trevor, professional job, nails driven in at exactly the right angle to ensure maximum damage. Are you," another pause. "Are you accusing me of something?" The hurt in his voice sounded genuine, but I'd heard Trevor lie before, about his gambling losses, about his failed investments, about his promises to change. "Just checking if you saw anything unusual when you left last night. Strange cars, people walking around." "I drove straight home, Dad. Look, I know we had words yesterday, but I would never. This is vandalism. You should call the police." "Should I? What proof did I have beyond timing and suspicion?" Trevor's denial sounded convincing, and my accusation could destroy what remained of our relationship permanently. "I'll handle it through insurance," I said finally. "Thanks for the concern." "Dad, wait, I'm sorry about yesterday. About everything, we both said things. Let's discuss it later, son. I need to call the roadside assistance operator estimated 45 minutes for a tow truck. I hung up and stared at my crippled vehicle, feeling suddenly older than my 68 years. Had I been wrong about Trevor, the voice on the phone had carried genuine shock and sympathy. Maybe some neighborhood vandals had targeted my car randomly. Maybe the timing was coincidental, but 40 years of construction work had taught me to recognize patterns. And this pattern pointed toward one conclusion I didn't want to accept. I gathered my shopping bags and headed back toward the house. The grocery trip would have to wait. When the mechanic finally arrived, he confirmed what I already knew. 4 professionally punctured tires, $800 in damage. Back home with a turkey sandwich and yesterday's newspaper, I tried to focus on the sports section instead of distracting myself from the growing suspicion in my gut. The phone rang as I reached for my coffee mug. Trevor's name appeared on the caller ID. "Hey Dad, how's your day going?" His voice carried a brightness that seemed forced, like sunshine breaking through storm clouds. Too quickly to be natural. No mention of our morning conversation about the tires. No reference to yesterday's argument. "It's been interesting," I replied carefully. "Spent the morning at Morrison's Tire Center." "Oh right, the vandalism thing, that really stinks. Listen, I'm calling with good news though. Tomorrow's my birthday, and Meredith's planned something special." I sat down my sandwich. Trevor's 40th birthday, in all the drama of recent days I'd completely forgotten. "Nothing fancy," he continued. "Just family dinner at 6. Molly will be there, and a few close friends would mean a lot to have you there, Dad." The invitation caught me off guard. After yesterday's explosive confrontation and this morning's tire incident, I'd expected continued silence between us, not a cheerful party invitation. "That's thoughtful of you to invite me," I said, testing the waters. "Come on, Dad. I know we don't always see eye to eye on financial stuff, but we're family." Molly specifically asked if Grandpa would come. "She's excited to see you." The mention of my granddaughter stirred something protective in my chest. Molly had always been the bright spot in family gatherings, untainted by her parents' financial dramas. If she wanted me there, how could I refuse? "What should I bring?" I asked. "Just yourself. Meredith's handling everything. Food, decorations, the whole works. She's really gone all out this year." That explained the expense. Meredith's all out typically meant costs that would strain Trevor's already precarious finances. But for once that wasn't my problem to solve. "Of course I'll be there. 6 o'clock sharp." "Fantastic. Oh, and Dad, thanks for not making a big deal about yesterday. I was stressed about work stuff. Took it out on you unfairly." The apology sounded genuine, tinged with the vulnerability I remembered from Trevor's childhood. Maybe I had misjudged the tire situation. Maybe he was genuinely trying to repair our relationship. "Water under the bridge, son. See you tomorrow." After hanging up, I sat in my kitchen feeling cautiously optimistic. Family dinners had been rare since Trevor's marriage to Meredith. Her social calendar usually relegated family time to holidays and obligatory appearances. But a birthday celebration offered a chance to reconnect, to bridge the gap that had opened between us. Molly would be there, probably excited to show me her latest college adventures. Trevor might be in a better mood, surrounded by friends and family. I finished my sandwich while considering gift options. Nothing too expensive. That would send the wrong message after yesterday's conversation. Something thoughtful, but practical. Maybe a nice set of hand tools for his garage projects, or a book about business management he might actually read. The afternoon stretched ahead peacefully. Tomorrow's party had given me something positive to anticipate, instead of dwelling on punctured tires and family tensions. Perhaps this was Trevor's way of extending an olive branch, his attempt to smooth over our recent difficulties. The timing might seem suspicious, but birthdays had a way of putting family conflicts into perspective. I cleared my lunch dishes, and headed to the living room to browse online for appropriate gifts. For the first time in 2 days I felt genuinely hopeful about my relationship with my son. The next day, as the taxi pulled away from Trevor's house, I stepped out onto the brick walkway, holding the carefully wrapped gift under my arm. The evening air carried the aroma of barbecue and laughter from the backyard. Through the front windows I could see people moving around. More guests than I expected for a simple family dinner. Trevor appeared at the front door before I could knock, his face bright with what seemed like genuine enthusiasm. "Dad, you made it. Come in, come in." The house had been transformed, where I remembered modest furnishings, expensive-looking decorations now adorned every surface. Crystal glasses caught the light from a new chandelier I'd never seen before. The spread of food visible through the kitchen doorway looked professionally catered. "Happy birthday, son." I handed him the gift, a quality tool set I'd selected after careful consideration. 40 years. Hard to believe. "Thanks, Dad. This means everything." Trevor's smile faltered for just a moment, something unreadable flickering across his face. "Meredith, Dad's here." She emerged from the kitchen wearing an elegant dress that probably costs more than most people's monthly mortgage payment. "Glenn, so wonderful you could make it. Let me introduce you to everyone." The living room buzzed with conversation. Young professionals I didn't recognize mingled with wine glasses discussing careers and investments. The alcohol selection impressed me. Premium brands that Trevor definitely couldn't afford on his sales income. "Grandpa." Molly's voice cut through the crowd. She rushed over, wrapping me in a hug that felt like the most genuine greeting I'd received all evening. "I'm so glad you came. Wouldn't miss your father's birthday, sweetheart. How's college treating you?" "Finals are next week, but I'm managing." "Want me to get you something to drink? Dad stocked your favorite beer." Trevor materialized beside us with an imported bottle I recognized from expensive restaurants. "Remember this one, Dad? You ordered it at that steakhouse in Portland last year." I accepted the beer, touched that he'd remembered such a small detail. Maybe his invitation had been sincere after all. Maybe the tire incident really had been random vandalism, and I'd been too quick to suspect my own son. The evening progressed with surprising warmth. Trevor's friends included me in their conversations, asking about the construction business, with apparent genuine interest. Meredith kept my glass filled, appearing beside me whenever it emptied with a fresh drink and a bright smile. "This is quite a spread," I commented during dinner, gesturing at the array of catered dishes. "Must have cost a fortune." Trevor whined dismissively. "Meredith's been saving for months. She wanted this birthday to be special. But the math didn't add up. The catering alone would have cost thousands, not counting the alcohol, decorations, and new furniture. Where had they found money for such extravagance when Trevor had been begging me for investment capital just days earlier?" "Another wine, Glenn?" Meredith appeared with a bottle of Cabernet that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. "This pairs beautifully with the beef." I nodded, feeling the warm buzz of alcohol beginning to soften my edges. The evening's contradictions seemed less important now, overshadowed by the simple pleasure of family celebration. Molly sat beside me, chatting about her psychology classes, her presence a reminder of what truly mattered. Trevor stood to make a toast, raising his glass with theatrical flourish. To family, to second chances, to the future. Everyone drank. The wine was exceptional, smooth, rich, probably aged longer than some of Trevor's friends had been alive. As the evening wore on, I found myself relaxing completely for the first time in days, but something nagged at me. Trevor kept checking his watch. Meredith's smiles while warm never quite reached her eyes, and whenever I glanced around the room, I caught them exchanging meaningful looks when they thought I wasn't watching. The party moved into its third hour with no signs of winding down. I settled into Trevor's new leather armchair, another expensive addition I didn't remember from previous visits, watching the animated conversations around me. The wine had left me pleasantly relaxed. My earlier suspicions about tire vandalism and mysterious expenses feeling distant and unimportant. Trevor appeared at my elbow with another drink. "Dad, how about I show you the renovations upstairs? We've done some amazing work on the master suite." Now, I glanced around at the ongoing party. "Shouldn't you be with your guests? They're having a great time. Come on, I want to show you what we've accomplished." His insistence struck me as odd, but before I could respond, Meredith materialized on my other side. "Oh yes, Glenn. You simply must see the new bathroom fixtures. We spared no expense." There was that phrase again, no expense spared by people who supposedly couldn't afford basic living costs without my financial assistance. As I started to rise from the armchair, Molly suddenly appeared beside me, her face pale and eyes wide with an emotion I couldn't immediately identify. "Fear, panic, Grandpa?" she whispered, gripping my arm with surprising intensity. "You need to leave, right now." I blinked, certain I'd misheard. "What, please?" Her voice carried an urgency that cut through my wine-induced haze. "Just go. Trust me, something's wrong." Trevor stepped closer, his smile never wavering. "Molly, what are you talking about?" Grandpa was just about to see the upstairs. No, he wasn't. Molly's grip on my arm tightened. "Grandpa, please. You have to go home." The desperation in my granddaughter's voice sobered me instantly. In 18 years, I'd never seen Molly look frightened. Confused, yes. Frustrated with her parents, certainly. But never this kind of raw terror. I think I should listen to my granddaughter, I said, beginning to stand. It's getting late anyway. Dad, don't be ridiculous. Trevor's cheerful facade cracked slightly. The party's just getting started. We haven't even cut the cake yet. Where are you going, Glenn? Meredith's voice carried a sharp edge despite her continued smile. You can't leave before we've properly celebrated. Something in their coordinated response triggered an alarm I'd learned to trust over 40 years in business. When two people worked this hard to keep you somewhere, it usually meant you needed to be somewhere else. I'm feeling a bit tired, I said, extracting myself from the chair, despite their hovering presence, age catching up with me. Just one more drink, Trevor pressed. I have a special bottle I've been saving. Another time, son. I moved toward the front door, but Trevor stepped into my path. Dad, really, Molly's just being dramatic. College stress, you know how it is. Molly made a sound that might have been a sob. When I looked at her, tears were starting to form in her eyes. That decided it. Thank you for a lovely evening, I said firmly, stepping around Trevor toward the coat closet. I'll call you tomorrow. But Dad, tomorrow, Trevor. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the front door. Behind me I heard heated whispers between Trevor and Meredith. Too low to make out words, but urgent enough to confirm Molly's warning had been justified. The cool night air hit my face as I stepped outside, clearing away the last of the wine's fog. I pulled out my phone and called a taxi, then turned back toward the house. Through the window, I could see Molly watching me, her face a mixture of relief and worry. She pressed her hand against the glass, in what looked like a goodbye. Whatever danger she felt today, I trusted her instincts completely. When the taxi lights came around the corner, I decided to call her to get a full explanation. The taxi pulled away from the curb as I fumbled for my phone, streetlights casting moving shadows across the back seat. My hands trembled slightly, whether from the evening's alcohol or the adrenaline of escape, I couldn't tell. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror, probably wondering why his passenger looked like he'd fled a crime scene. I dialed Molly's number, praying she could talk privately. She answered on the first ring. Grandpa, are you okay? Are you safe? The urgency in her voice confirmed my worst fears. Whatever I'd escaped tonight had been real and dangerous. I'm in a taxi, heading home. Molly, what was happening back there? Why did you warn me? A long pause, I could hear muffled party sounds in the background, then a door closing. I overheard Mom and Dad talking yesterday, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. They had some plan involving you and tonight's party. What kind of plan? They wanted to get you drunk and make you sign business documents. Something about transferring your company to Dad. The words hit me like a physical blow. My own son plotting to steal everything I'd built, over 4 decades of back-breaking work. Are you certain about this, Molly? Grandpa, there were lawyers waiting upstairs in the guest bedroom. Mom kept checking the time, making sure you were drinking enough wine. Dad kept trying to get you to go upstairs for that tour of their renovations. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity, the expensive party. The constant drink refills. Trevor's nervous energy. Meredith's calculating smiles. They'd orchestrated an elaborate trap and I'd walked right into it. How much did you overhear? Enough to know they planned this right after your argument Tuesday night. Mom said you were being selfish, keeping all that money when Dad needed it for his investments. My grip tightened on the phone. They called me selfish. Mom was really confident it would work. She said once you had enough drinks you'd sign anything they put in front of you, something about how older people get confused when they drink. The casual cruelty of their assessments stung almost as much as the betrayal itself. They'd reduced me to a mark, an obstacle to overcome through deception and exploitation. Molly, listen to me carefully. You have to promise me something important. What? Don't tell your parents about this conversation. They didn't say anything to you for telling me to go, did they? Okay, I'll keep quiet. Dad asked me why I did it, and if I knew anything about tonight. I said no, and said that I told you to leave because it gets very dangerous in our neighborhood late at night, and I went to my room. They think I don't know about their plans. Promise me, I'll deal with this situation, but you have to be careful. Can you do that? Yes, but what if they try something else? Mom was so sure it would work. You saved all my work tonight, Molly. I'm proud of the woman you're becoming. The taxi turned onto Maple Street, my house visible in the distance. Mrs. Henderson sat on her front porch, her evening routine unchanged by the drama unfolding in her neighborhood. I have to go, sweetheart. Thank you for being the only person in this family I can trust completely. I love you, Grandpa. I love you too. Remember, if you need anything, call me. As I ended the call, one thought echoed in my mind. This betrayal wouldn't go unanswered. The taxi's taillights disappeared around the corner as I stood in my driveway, fishing for house keys with unsteady hands. The familiar weight of home felt different now, not just a sanctuary, but a fortress under siege. Evening, Glenn. You're getting home late tonight. Mrs. Henderson's voice carried across the small gap between our properties. She sat on her front porch in the wicker chair that had occupied that spot for as long as I'd known her, wrapped in a light shawl against the spring evening chill. Good evening, Dorothy. Just visiting Trevor. I see you got your car fixed. New tires look good. I paused keys halfway to the lock. How did you know about the tire problem? She was quiet for a moment, rocking gently in her chair. Then she stood and walked to the porch railing, close enough that we could speak without raising our voices. Well, I was sitting out here Tuesday evening. You know how I like the evening air. I saw something that troubled me, but wasn't sure if I should mention it. A chill ran down my spine that had nothing to do with the night temperature. What did you see, Dorothy? I think you should know what really happened to your tires, Glenn. I walked closer to her property line, my heart beginning to race. Tell me. I saw Trevor leaving your house that night around 9:30. He walked around your car with something in his hand. Looked like he was checking each tire. Then he knelt down by each one, did something and stood up, looking around to see if anyone was watching. The confirmation hit me like a sledgehammer, not random vandalism, not neighborhood kids. My own son methodically destroying my property in a calculated act of revenge. Are you certain it was Trevor, Dorothy? Glenn. I've known that boy since he was little. It was definitely him. This was right after I heard raised voices from your house, not that I was listening intentionally, but sound carries on quiet evenings. She'd witnessed the entire sequence, our argument, his departure, his immediate retaliation. The timeline painted a picture of premeditated malice that went far beyond desperate financial need. He didn't see me sitting here in the shadows, she continued. I keep my porch light off in the evenings. Easier to see the stars. I appreciate you telling me this, Dorothy. I wasn't sure if I should say anything. Family matters are delicate, and I don't like to interfere. But when I saw you getting those expensive new tires, I thought you should know the truth. First, the lawyer trap Molly had revealed, now confirmed tire vandalism from Mrs. Henderson. My son had launched a systematic campaign against me, property damage followed by an elaborate scheme to steal my business. This wasn't desperation anymore. This was war. Let's keep this between us for now, I said, maintaining outward composure despite the rage building inside me. Of course, Glenn, but that boy needs to learn some respect for what you've built. You've worked too hard to have someone, even family, tear it down out of spite. Mrs. Henderson's words carried the weight of 40 years of neighborhood observation. She'd watched Trevor grow up, seen his gradual transformation from promising young man to bitter disappointment. Her assessment couldn't be dismissed as outsider judgment. Thank you for being a good neighbor, Dorothy. I should get inside. It's been a long day. You take care of yourself, Glenn, and remember, if you ever need someone to verify what I saw, I'm not afraid to tell the truth. I nodded, touched by her loyalty, then walked toward my front door. Behind me, I heard her settle back into her rocking chair, resuming her evening vigil over our quiet street. Inside my house, I turned on every light and stood in my living room, surrounded by 40 years of honest work and careful accumulation. Everything Trevor had tried to steal. Tonight, through lawyers and manipulation, everything he'd already begun destroying through vandalism and betrayal, the systematic nature of his attacks, financial manipulation followed by property damage followed by elaborate legal trap, revealed a calculated campaign rather than desperate impulses. My son had declared war on me. Time to respond accordingly. Dawn broke gray and overcast, matching the cold determination that had settled in my chest overnight. Sleep had come in fragments, interrupted by mental cataloging of Trevor's betrayals, and systematic analysis of his vulnerabilities. Now, at 7 a.m., I sat at my kitchen table with steaming coffee and a legal pad, ready to transform 40 years of business experience into a weapon. The emotional shock had crystallized into something far more dangerous: strategic clarity. Trevor wanted to play hardball with a man who'd built an empire from nothing. Time to remind him who taught him everything he knew about business. I moved to my study and pulled out the filing cabinet containing Trevor's investment history. Each manila folder represented a lesson in financial irresponsibility, a pattern of poor judgment that would now serve as ammunition. The Miami condo scheme, the cryptocurrency disaster, the food truck partnership with a convicted felon, all documented with contracts, bank statements, and communication records. But this wasn't about revisiting old failures. This was about weaponizing information. Trevor had made 3 critical mistakes in his campaign against me. First, he'd underestimated my business connections. Second, he'd forgotten I possessed documentation of every failed venture he'd ever undertaken. Third, he'd assumed family loyalty would protect him from consequences. Wrong, on all counts. I spread the investment documents across my desk chronologically. $75,000 lost in Miami when the developer vanished. $50,000 evaporated in cryptocurrency mining equipment that never materialized. $30,000 invested in a food truck business that collapsed when Trevor's partner, a man with embezzlement convictions, disappeared with the remaining funds. Each disaster had involved other investors, people who'd trusted Trevor based on his connection to my reputation. Marcus Thompson had lost $25,000 in the Miami project. David Rodriguez had invested $35,000 in the cryptocurrency scheme. Jennifer Walsh had contributed $20,000 to the food truck venture. They'd all lost money because they trusted my son. More importantly, they all belonged to Lewiston's tight-knit business community. Marcus served on the Chamber of Commerce. David chaired the local investment group. Jennifer worked in financial services and valued transparency above all else. Perfect channels for information distribution. I retrieved my contact database and began compiling phone numbers and addresses. Anonymous tips required careful execution, professional presentation, documented evidence, and plausible deniability. The construction industry had taught me that reputation destruction required surgical precision, not emotional outbursts. Phase 1 would expose Trevor's pattern of financial mismanagement to his previous victims. Once they started comparing notes, the investment community would quickly understand they'd been systematically deceived. Phase 2 would target Meredith's professional relationships. Her expensive tastes suggested income sources beyond Trevor's struggling sales career. A woman that calculating had to have business vulnerabilities worth exploiting. Phase 3 would involve legal and financial consequences designed to cripple their ability to attempt future schemes against anyone. The beauty of this approach lay in its sustainability. I wouldn't need to maintain any deception or cover story. The evidence would speak for itself, and Trevor's victims would draw their own conclusions about his character and business practices. I opened my laptop and created an anonymous email account specifically for this operation. Professional courier services could handle document delivery. Timing would be crucial: Friday afternoon deployment to ensure weekend processing time and Monday consequences. The phone rang, startling me from my planning. Trevor's name appeared on the caller ID. I let it ring. Whatever excuses or explanations he wanted to offer could wait. Right now, I had work to do. By 1 o'clock Friday afternoon, my study resembled a war room. Investment documents lay arranged chronologically across my desk, organized by investor and loss amount. 3 large manila envelopes sat ready for courier delivery, each containing enough documented evidence to destroy what remained of Trevor's financial credibility. The first package was addressed to Marcus Thompson, who'd lost $25,000 in Trevor's Miami condo scheme. Inside were photocopies of the original investment contract, bank transfer records, and email communications showing Trevor's awareness that the developer was facing bankruptcy proceedings, even as he continued collecting investor money. The second envelope contained David Rodriguez's cryptocurrency catastrophe documentation, $35,000 invested in mining equipment that existed only in online advertisements. I'd included the email thread where Trevor admitted the supplier looked questionable, but insisted the returns were too good to pass up. Jennifer Walsh's package detailed the food truck disaster. $20,000 invested in a business partnership with a convicted embezzler. The contract Trevor had signed included background check requirements he deliberately ignored. Each envelope contained a simple cover letter. Information for your consideration regarding Trevor Meyer's business practices. Please review the attached documentation and draw your own conclusions. No accusations, no emotional appeals, just facts, dates, and financial records that spoke for themselves. I called Premier Courier Service and arranged same-day delivery to all 3 addresses. The timing was perfect. Friday afternoon would give the recipients weekend time to study the materials and contact each other before Monday's business day began. Anonymous delivery, the dispatcher confirmed. No problem. We'll need cash payment on pickup. Professional courier services asked no questions about anonymous packages. In 40 years of business, I'd learned that legitimate operations often required discreet information sharing. The packages left my house at 2:30 p.m. By evening, 3 of Lewiston's most connected business professionals would be reviewing documented evidence of Trevor's systematic deception of his investors. Marcus Thompson controlled significant influence in the Chamber of Commerce. David Rodriguez chaired the investment group that vetted local business opportunities. Jennifer Walsh's financial services firm advised half the entrepreneurs in town. Trevor had picked the wrong people to defraud and the wrong father to betray. My phone rang again. It was Trevor's third attempt to reach me since last night. This time I answered. "Dad, thank God, I've been trying to reach you since last night." "I was busy, son. About yesterday. Why did you listen to Molly and leave? Did she tell you something?" "I was just tired. It's been a long week. Listen, about yesterday. I'd like you to come over again. Meredith worked so hard on the party. She was disappointed when you couldn't stay." The casual lie rolled off his tongue with practiced ease. No mention of lawyers or signing papers. No acknowledgement of the trap I had escaped. "The party was great," I said neutrally. "Please thank Meredith for her hospitality." "Of course. Hey, maybe we could have lunch next week. I've been thinking about our conversation on Tuesday night, and I may have some new investment ideas that will solve your problems." More intrigue, more attempts at manipulation. This man never learned. "Let me check my schedule, and I'll call you back." "Sure, Dad. Love you. Goodbye, Trevor." I hung up and checked the clock. 3:15 p.m. The packages had been in transit for 45 minutes. By 6 o'clock, 3 very influential people would be reading very detailed accounts of my son's business failures. The phone rang immediately. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Part of me hoped it was Marcus Thompson calling to verify the information he just received, but maintaining anonymity was crucial to the operation's success. Let the evidence work. Let Trevor's victims reach their own conclusions. By Monday morning, the local business community would be buzzing with documented proof of Trevor Myers' systematic deception of his investors. Phase 1 was in motion. Monday morning brought confirmation that my investor campaign had achieved its intended effect. The phone had rung 6 times before 888 m. Business associates asking carefully worded questions about recent information regarding Trevor Myers' investment history. Word was spreading through Lewiston's business community exactly as I'd planned. Marcus Thompson had called David Rodriguez Sunday evening to compare notes. David had reached out to Jennifer Walsh to verify what they'd all received. By Monday morning, 3 of the town's most influential business professionals were warning their networks about Trevor's documented pattern of investor deception. Phase 1, complete success. Time for Phase 2. I settled into my study with fresh coffee and opened a new manila folder labeled Meredith Myers Professional Standing. If Trevor was the desperate gambler, Meredith was the calculating mastermind who'd orchestrated the birthday party trap. She deserved equal consequences. Meredith worked as a senior client relationship manager at Pinnacle Financial Consulting, handling high net worth accounts that required absolute trust and professional integrity. Her position depended entirely on her reputation for ethical behavior and sound judgment. Perfect vulnerability. I spent the morning making discreet inquiries through my business network. Construction companies often worked with financial consultants, giving me legitimate reasons to ask questions about local firms and their personnel. The information proved illuminating. Meredith had been seen frequently at the Marriott Lounge on weekday afternoons, always with the same well-dressed professional man. Multiple sources confirmed lengthy conversations over expensive wine during hours when she should have been serving clients. Her companion appeared to be a visiting executive from Portland, married according to his wedding ring, but notably attentive to my daughter-in-law. More interesting was Meredith's spending pattern. Despite Trevor's claimed financial struggles, she'd been purchasing designer clothing, expensive jewelry, and luxury items well beyond their supposed means. Either Trevor had been lying about their finances, or Meredith had income sources he didn't know about. Both possibilities served my purposes. I drafted a professional ethics complaint to Pinnacle Financial's Human Resources Department, carefully documenting the conflict of interest between Meredith, his role as a trusted financial advisor, and her family's systematic attempt to defraud elderly clients through legal manipulation. The complaint highlighted how someone responsible for protecting clients' financial interests had personally participated in planning to steal my business through fraudulent legal documents and alcohol-induced incompetence. Her employer needed to know that Meredith Myers considered elderly clients' assets legitimate targets for family enrichment schemes. I included documentation of the birthday party expenses, catering, alcohol, decorations that suggested financial resources inconsistent with the struggling family finances. Meredith undoubtedly portrayed to colleagues and clients. The anonymous package went out Monday afternoon via Professional Courier, along with a note suggesting HR investigate Meredith's recent client interactions for possible conflicts of interest or inappropriate financial advice motivated by personal gain. By Tuesday morning, Pinnacle Financial would be conducting an internal investigation of their senior relationship managers, professional ethics, and client trust violations. My phone rang as I sealed the envelope, a known number. I let it ring, but made note of the time. Trevor was getting desperate, calling from different phones to try reaching me. Good. Desperation led to mistakes, and mistakes created opportunities. The systematic destruction of both conspirators was proceeding exactly as planned. Tuesday afternoon brought the sound I'd been expecting, car doors slamming in my driveway with unnecessary force, followed by rapid footsteps on my front walkway. Trevor and Meredith had come calling together, unified in their desperation. The aggressive knocking confirmed their emotional state before I opened the door. Both stood on my porch, faces flushed with anger and panic. Trevor's usual confidence had evaporated, replaced by the cornered animal look of a man facing complete ruin. Meredith's calculated composure had cracked, revealing the raw fury beneath her polished exterior. "We need to talk," Trevor said, pushing past me into the house. "Now, we know what you've been doing, Glenn," Meredith added, following her husband into my living room. I closed the door calmly, and gestured toward the couch. "I've been expecting this conversation. Please sit down. Don't pretend innocence," Trevor snapped, remaining standing. "You destroyed my business relationships with those anonymous letters. Marcus, David, and Jennifer all got the same information packet about investments you funded years ago." Meredith's professional anger was more controlled, but equally intense. "My employer received an ethics complaint yesterday. HR is conducting a full investigation of my client relationship practices. Someone sent detailed information about our family financial planning." I settled into my leather armchair, the same spot where this entire conflict had begun a week ago. Those complaints contained only factual information. Investors deserve to know about documented patterns of failure. "Factual." Trevor's voice rose. "You deliberately sabotaged my reputation." "I shared truth," I replied evenly. "If truth damages your reputation, perhaps the problem lies with your actions, not my disclosure." Meredith leaned forward aggressively. "You're destroying my career over a family disagreement. Let's discuss what really happened," I said, reaching for the folder I'd prepared for this moment. "You plan to steal 40 years of my work through fraud and manipulation." I opened the file, revealing documentation of their systematic betrayal. "Molly told me about the lawyers waiting upstairs at your birthday party. Mrs. Henderson saw Trevor puncture my tires after our argument. This wasn't desperation, this was premeditated theft." The color drained from both their faces as they realized the scope of my knowledge. Tuesday argument about money, I continued methodically. Wednesday morning tire vandalism and retaliation. Thursday evening elaborate trap involving alcohol lawyers and legal documents designed to transfer my business assets. Trevor's defiance crumbled. "Dad, you don't understand the pressure we're under." "I understand perfectly," I interrupted. "You decided that stealing from your father was easier than building your own success." Meredith orchestrated a sophisticated fraud scheme using her professional knowledge of elder financial manipulation. "This is still family," Meredith protested weakly. "You stopped being family when you planned to rob me," I replied. "Every consequence you're facing now is earned through your own choices." Trevor slumped into the couch, finally understanding the completeness of his defeat. Meredith remained rigid, calculating whether any damage control was possible. "The investors will never trust you again, Trevor. Your business reputation is finished," I continued. "Meredith, your professional ethics investigation will likely end your career. These are natural consequences of attempted theft and fraud." "What about Molly?" Meredith asked desperately. "Molly's future remains secure. Unlike her parents, she chose to protect family instead of exploiting it. Her college education and life prospects are unaffected by your consequences." I stood, indicating the conversation was over. "You declared war on me through systematic betrayal." I responded with systematic truth-telling. "Justice isn't revenge, it's accountability." They left without another word, walking to their car with the defeated posture of people who'd gambled everything and lost. I watched from my porch as they drove away, probably heading home to face their destroyed lives and ruined partnership. The phone rang as their taillights disappeared. Molly's name on the caller ID. "Hi, sweetheart." "Grandpa, are you okay? I heard Mom and Dad talking about some kind of investigation." "Everything's fine, Molly. Justice has been served, and your future is safe. I love you, Grandpa. I love you too. 40 years of honest work remained protected in honest hands. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.